Buenas tardes, clase. Today we're going to learn about different phrases that we can use for making comparisons. So in English, if you say something is great, and then you want to say that something is even greater than that, we often have this concept of using ER or EST, right? But what about if something is less than? We don't really have a way of saying that besides using the word less. And sometimes we have words that you can't add ER or EST to, right? So in Spanish, basically no words add ER or EST or that same concept. We instead use words that basically come out to a translation of more than or less than or the same as. Okay? So, if you want to say something is more interesting than something else, we use this phrase. Más, and then whatever the adjective is, and then que. Alright? So that means more than, basically. If you want to say something is less interesting than something else, we would use menos and que. Which you've seen menos before, you know what that means. But basically in this concept, it means less than. And lastly, if you wanted to say if something was the same as something else, or as interesting as, or as cold as, or whatever you were comparing, then you would use tan. Blank, and then como. Alright, so that's basically like same as blank as. So we're going to go ahead and look at some sentences using these phrases that are used to compare things. But before we start that, remember that adjectives must agree in both gender and number with the nouns that they are describing. So as we do our sentences, remember that you need to do that. Alright, let's look at this first phrase. Fútbol es más interesante que baloncesto. Fútbol es más interesante que baloncesto. Now, this is an opinion, okay, but roll with me here. Football, what's that? Fútbol. Well, that we're referring to soccer, is more interesting than basketball. All right, so that's how we do it. We put the adjective here in the middle, what I'm circling, and then we put the other words on the outside. What about this sentence? La clase de historia es menos divertido que la clase de inglés. La clase de historia es menos divertido que la clase de inglés. Now, I have an issue with this sentence, and I'm hoping that you caught it. But if you didn't, what was the rule that I reminded you before about adjectives? If you remember this rule, they must agree what and what? Both gender and number with the noun. So what is divertido, this adjective, trying to describe? It's trying to describe clase, right? And is clase feminine or masculine? Well, as you can see before with the la, it's going to be a feminine. So divertido should actually be what? Divertida. So if you caught that before, good job. Alright, so here's a couple of examples with sentences using these comparisons. Let's look at a couple other phrases that we might use. So if I didn't want to use an adjective in between the words and I just wanted to use some phrases, you could actually use those phrases just saying more than or less than, okay? For example, if I said, I like to swim more than, in English you would say, I like to run. How about that? I like to swim more than I like to run. We can use that more than just like we did before. Except for in Spanish, you can even omit the second I like right there. All right, so let me go ahead and write this for you. Me gusta nadar más que, and then you could say again the me gusta, but you don't have to actually. You can omit it. Me gusta nadar más que, what's to run? Correr. Me gusta nadar más que correr. So we have this phrase, más que, which basically means more than. All right? We also can use less than, just like that. So, how about this one? I like to use a new glove, like a baseball glove, less than a new bat. I like to use a new glove less than a new bat. So basically what the sentence is saying is, I like using a new bat, but not so much a new glove. In Spanish, you would say that, translate it like this. Me gusta, there's the I like again, usar un guante nuevo. Remember, that's a green. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Un guante nuevo. What's less than? You learned it before. Menos que un bate nuevo. Me gusta usar un guante nuevo menos que un bate nuevo. So that would be, I like to use a new glove less than a new bat. All right? Now, if you wanted to say as much as, instead of saying tan como, you would say it like this. Tanto como. All right? Tanto como. So, if I'd like to say a sentence in English, he likes to play soccer as much as baseball. He likes to play soccer as much as baseball. Then I would translate that into Spanish like this. Le gusta, or a él le gusta, either way. Le gusta jugar, remember jugar is to play sports, al fútbol, because we need the al after jugar, tanto como al béisbol. Le gusta jugar al fútbol tanto como al béisbol. So you can use those same phrases to compare things. All right? Now, one more rule that you need to learn. If you are talking about numbers with these phrases, you would need to use más de or menos de instead of que, okay? Just with numbers. So if you're saying it's going to be less than 5 minutes away, instead of menos que 5 minutos, you would say menos de 5 minutos. This is probably something that most Spanish speakers don't even realize they do. But this is the correct grammar then. Menos de 5 minutos. Okay, so just when you're using those numbers. All right? There are just a few irregular comparative words So you already know older and younger, right? Mayor and menor. I'm going to teach you 2 last words, and then we're going to be done for today. 2 last words, all right? First, better. Better is mejor. Mejor. And the other one, worse. Worse is peor. Peor. All right? All right, I think that's enough work for today. So I'm going to go ahead and let you get working on memorizing these, and I will see you tomorrow. Hasta luego.